In Nagasaki, all hell broke loose on that fateful August morning 62 years ago. The Urakami Cathedral, at the epicenter of the blast, was blown apart. It wasn't the first time Japan's Christians had suffered a mortal blow. In the mid-1500s, Christianity was introduced by Spanish missionaries. For 50 years it flourished, until its popularity posed such a threat to Japan's rulers, it was outlawed.
In 1596, the Spanish ship San Felipe was wrecked off the coast of Shikoku, and Hideyoshi learned from its pilot that the Spanish Franciscans were the vanguard of an alleged foreign invasion of Japan. In response, Hideyoshi ordered the crucifixion of 26 Catholics in Nagasaki on February of that year. These men would later become known as the 26 Martyrs. Despite severe earlier persecution, by the late 19th century, several branches of Christianity were thriving. By 1873, Christianity had become so popular that all signs banning the religion were removed and the Gregorian calendar was adopted. Japan became known as a land of religious freedom. The Japanese people would now also measure time from the birth of Christ, instead of just from the ascension of the new emperor. For the Brotherhood of Death, the growing number of Christians in the area made Nagasaki a target. By the time the atomic bomb was developed, Nagasaki had approximately 50,000 Christians in the immediate area. The Bohemian Grove has been the epicenter for many meetings held by high-ranking Brotherhood of Death agents. Foremost among the attendees of the September 1942 meeting were the members of the S1 Executive Committee, led by an agent of the Brotherhood named Vannevar Bush. These men were the scientific leadership for the Manhattan Project, who would go on to develop the 2 atomic bombs used on Japan. Although it would seem that the S1 Committee were the ones responsible for the bombs, there was a much more powerful but unseen group that controlled them. One of the top men in this group was Bernard Baruch. Since the early 1930s, members of the Brotherhood of Death had been meeting at the Bohemian Grove to make their plans to start a Second World War. In control of these men was Baruch, who at the time was a top-level Brotherhood agent in the United States. Among his early assignments, Baruch had helped maneuver the U.S. into joining the First World War and was put in charge of the War Industries Board in 1918. In 1919, Baruch served as a key participant at the Paris Peace Conference and advocated for the creation of the League of Nations. Baruch was responsible for helping many people reach top military and civilian government positions. President Eisenhower said, "As a young and unknown major, I took the wisest step in my life. I consulted Mr. Baruch." By the early 1940s, with the Second World War now underway, Baruch and other secret society members, loyal to the Brotherhood but performing their daily roles as important political figures, had started to fine-tune their plan for the use of the atomic bomb. Bernard Baruch played a behind-the-scenes role in ensuring agents serving the Brotherhood were in key atomic bomb targeting related positions. Serving in the more elite Skull and Bones as a Brotherhood of Death bonesman was Secretary of War Henry Stimson. Stimson served Bernard Baruch, who himself was subordinate to the High Council of the Brotherhood of Death. With a lockhold on the key atomic bomb targeting leadership positions, the Brotherhood of Death killed more Japanese Christians in a few seconds than the persecutors of the faith were able to do in the last 500 years. To camouflage the anti-Christian purpose of the atomic bomb, Agents of the Brotherhood orchestrated events that would serve the post-bombing propaganda campaign. One such example is arranging for a Catholic priest and a Protestant minister to bless the bombing missions. Pilot Charles Sweeney wrote that Captain Bill Downey, a Lutheran minister, said, "I bless the men and their airplanes that fly off to kill and be killed. I condone their actions by my blessings." For the Brotherhood of Death, this was important for multiple reasons. In their belief system, human sacrifice is required to generate power. A human sacrifice of the magnitude yielded by the atomic bombs needed to be carefully concealed. It was therefore necessary to convince religious leaders not to publicly oppose the use of the bomb. Hiding human sacrifices and other acts of evil in plain sight is an important part of the Brotherhood of Death religion. For the Brotherhood of Death, the atomic bomb was needed to prevent Christianity from dominating the void that would appear the moment Emperor Hirohito was no longer acknowledged as divine. Brotherhood of Death member Henry Louis Stimson confirmed he selected Nagasaki to be ground zero for the only version of the atomic bomb previously proven to work. He said, quote, "This is a question I am settling myself," end quote. While it may be hard to initially understand why a Christian cathedral in a city that, according to U.S. Admiral William D. Leahy, was of no material assistance in the war against Japan, would be targeted for an atomic bomb attack, when the true motives of the Brotherhood of Death are revealed, it quickly becomes apparent. General Dwight Eisenhower went on record communicating, quote, "Japan was at that very moment seeking some way to surrender with minimal loss of face. It wasn't necessary to hit them with that awful thing," end quote. Secretary of War Henry Stimson acknowledged in his 1947 memoir on active service in peace and war that the Japanese cabinet was prepared as early as the spring of 1945 to accept substantially the same terms as those finally agreed on. Stimson wrote that history might find that the United States, by its delay in stating its position, had prolonged the war. Major Charles Sweeney participated in both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing runs. Sweeney did not need to know that Nagasaki was the primary target or that atomic bombs would be used to guide Japan into the clutches of a 21st century one-world government. Men like Sweeney were replaceable, as many would follow orders without question, and is often still the case for combat troops, would do so without understanding the origin and ultimate purpose of their mission. Major Sweeney wrote that Hiroshima was targeted because it was the location of major armament factories and the headquarters for the 2nd Japanese Army, which would mount the defense against any invasion. Sweeney disclosed Niigata would have been a logical primary target because it was the location of industries vital to Japan's ability to remain at war. Sweeney noted Kyoto, another high-value military target, was removed from the list by Secretary of War Henry Stimson. Stimson was initiated into the Skull and Bones Secret Society and graduated from Yale in 1888. In 1945, he was a key leader in the Brotherhood of Death. With multiple targets of far greater military significance than Nagasaki taken off the list, Nagasaki, the Japanese Christian Vatican, was added for the Brotherhood of Death by Stimson. The official targeting explanation for the Hiroshima bombing is that the city of Kokura was the secondary target on August 6, 1945, in the event Hiroshima could not be accurately targeted. And since Hiroshima was destroyed, the official story to this day is that Kokura became the primary target for the second atomic bomb. This cover story was successfully sold for years, with the U.S. government maintaining that the second bomb, called Fat Man, detonated above Nagasaki because of unsuitable weather conditions at Kokura. The truth is that the visibility at Kokura was confirmed as good by the crew of the weather planes that flew ahead of the aircraft carrying the Fat Man atomic bomb. To prevent the world from seeing the hidden hand of the Brotherhood of Death, the official story attempted to deceive people by claiming Kokura could not be bombed due to clouds covering the area, even suggesting that pollution and smoke from a neighboring city, Kihata, would save Kokura. The real story, however, is much more complex. What follows is a step-by-step account of the events that led to that fateful day in 1945. On July 16, 1945, in the Jornado del Muerto Desert in New Mexico, the first atomic bomb was detonated. Witnessing this event were members of the Manhattan Project, the Los Alamos director Robert Oppenheimer, test director Kenneth Bainbridge, and many other top-level scientists and military personnel. Also present was a mysteriously appointed member of the press working for the New York Times, a man named William Laurence. William Laurence, originally a Lithuanian named Lev Wolf Su, was a Brotherhood of Death insider who had been placed at the New York Times by General Leslie Groves, himself instructed to do so by Bernard Baruch. Successfully operating as an agent of disinformation, Laurence would go on to write many propaganda pieces, earning him the nickname of Atomic Bill. His major cover-up first began with the press release about the Trinity shot, a blasphemous name for the test explosion, because the Holy Trinity is a phrase known by Christians to describe the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or in essence, the power of all life. To name a bomb with the power to destroy everything that God created, Trinity, was definitely an insult meant to offend. The first atomic bomb, a plutonium bomb, detonated at 5 hours and 29 minutes local time.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
It was strange that Laurence, being a foreign national who would normally be denied even a secret security clearance, would in a few weeks be the only civilian authorized to participate in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombing runs. While Laurence was approved to be on the observer plane that accompanied the B-29 sent to bomb Hiroshima, he claimed he arrived late for the flight and could only watch the bomber depart. As a civilian, Laurence was not court-martialed or punished. Even so, why would Laurence, as a reporter, miss the Hiroshima flight, which was the only historical chance to witness the very first use of nuclear weaponry? Why would only Laurence, a civilian, even be invited to participate to witness extremely sensitive atomic bombing missions? Every person on the atomic bomb mission served a very special purpose. For the Brotherhood of Death, Laurence's secret Nagasaki mission was too important to risk by having him participate in the diversionary but still lethal Hiroshima bombing. That is to say, by missing the Hiroshima flight, Laurence was positioned to deliver secret orders from Secretary of War Henry Stimson, who himself was secretly working for the Brotherhood of Death to make Nagasaki the primary target. The Brotherhood of Death agents are very clever, and its leaders at the time understood the marketing principle called the law of leadership. This marketing principle states that people remember the first event in a new category and pay less attention to the second event in a new category. If asked who was the first person to fly from New York to Paris solo, many people can correctly answer the question with Charles Lindbergh, But if asked what was the name of the second person to fly the Atlantic Ocean solo, few people would know the answer. Understanding this principle is critical for understanding why Hiroshima, by being first, was actually a diversionary target.
Then you can also understand how important Lawrence's secret Nagasaki mission was.
Major Charles Sweeney and almost everyone else on the bombing runs were to never know the special purpose Lawrence was to serve. Only the senior military person responsible for dropping the bomb, Commander Ashworth, would need access to top-secret, eyes-only orders from Secretary of War Stimson.
Along with Lawrence's secret mission, top-secret, eyes-only destroy-on-receipt orders do not survive to become part of the historical record. While the paper trail documenting secret operations is routinely thin, it is clearly established that someone secretly changed the Nagasaki target map at the last minute. The proof is the simple fact that the center of Christianity became ground zero for the bomb instead of Mitsubishi's military shipyard. The Nagasaki atomic bomb was never intended to be used to destroy military targets. It was meant to hit at the heart of the Christian religion in Japan.
Despite receiving a Kokura clear skies and good mission weather message, Sweeney and teams circled the general area 3 times as Ashworth refused to violate orders and used radar to drop the Fat Man atomic bomb. Ashworth then told Major Sweeney they were going to make one run on Nagasaki. Bizarrely, in contradiction to his previous actions, Ashworth then ordered Sweeney and the bombardier to be prepared to use radar. As Commander Ashworth was the senior military officer on the mission, Major Sweeney and the bombardier obeyed Ashworth, even though the new instructions contradicted extremely clear orders prohibiting dropping an atomic bomb without a distinct visual target sighted. Nagasaki was obscured by 80 to 90% cumulus clouds at 6,000 to 8,000 feet. The Nagasaki radar targeting further highlights that Ashworth behaved as if he had received eyes-only secret orders authorizing radar use. The B-29, known as Boxcar, opened the bomb doors, and at the last moment, Bombardier Kermit Behan announced that he could see a hole in the clouds. Behan then said, "I've got it, I've got it," and released the bomb at 11:01 a.m. At 11:02, when Fat Man detonated, much of the city was destroyed in less than a second, and an estimated 73,884 people were killed. Among the first victims were prisoners of war, Japanese Christians, and Koreans. The detonation over the Catholic Cathedral immediately became the smoking gun, showing future investigators of this war crime that something was obviously wrong with the official version of events. Prisoners of war held at Nagasaki camps, already struggling to survive in appalling conditions, were burned alive.
The Fukuoka prisoner of war camp number 14 is located close to the epicenter. The significant message of this sign is that a conventional aerial bombardment took place here at this prisoner of war camp on August 1st, 1945. This is important because General Hap Arnold was ordered to keep all of the atomic bomb target sites free from conventional bombing runs. This was done so that scientific experiments could be conducted after the atomic bomb had been detonated. So for us to find that Nagasaki was attacked with a conventional aerial bombardment and the area attacked was the area of the prison camp just days before the atomic bomb, it is very significant because it tells a story that the prisoners were being bombed and those that survived were ordered to clean up debris, and many of those that were cleaning debris became atomic bomb victims.
What we find here is clear evidence that Nagasaki was not supposed to be an atomic bomb site,
but in secret was indeed planned in advance to be a site for the only version of the atomic bomb that had been proven to previously work. That sign, which was very embarrassing to the U.S. government and generally unknown by people, has now been removed. Since 1945, evidence continues to disappear. In 1945, the Tateyama atomic bomb shelter is built in Nagasaki to protect members of the ruling elite. Prefectural Governor Wakamatsu Nagano convened a special meeting on August 9, 1945 to discuss an atomic bomb attack on Nagasaki when at 11:02 a.m. the atomic bomb detonated. Governor Nagano and the other people in the shelter are kept safe. The shelter design is similar to secret atomic bomb shelters constructed for Stalin. According to the Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum's Hitomi Shirashi, the official records for the Tateyama air raid shelter have disappeared. A mysterious fire at Nagasaki City Hall destroys photographic atomic bomb evidence of Urakami's cathedral taken soon after the atomic bomb detonated. Large sums of money mysteriously appear in the 1950s to rebuild Urakami Cathedral on the condition the ruins are not preserved. In 1955, Nagasaki's mayor, Tatsumo Tagawa, reverses his long-standing position and calls for the Urakami Cathedral ruins to be removed. Ikematsu Tsuneki, a former Nagasaki city official, said the preservation of the ruins would have caused some problem to the United States. Following the 2013 and 2014 presentations of information in this documentary to officials at the Hiroshima and Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum, additional evidence started disappearing. The Hiroshima Atomic Bomb Museum East building was closed in 2014. Amazingly, even for the major 70th anniversary of the atomic bomb, evidence shown in this documentary was concealed from the public.
Historians both here in Japan and in the United States have never explained how the pilot and crew could confirm that they hit their assigned target within 500 feet and that the map shared with the American people after the bombing mission showed the intended target miles away from where the bomb detonated. In fact, had the intended target been hit, the area where I'm standing and the shipyard behind me would have been destroyed. That mysterious map that was once at the National Archives is shown in the book Atomic Bomb Secrets. This picture of the map, unfortunately, is all that we have because the original map, according to the National Archives, has been stolen or is lost. In fact, the archives offers a reward for anyone that can return that original map. This map that was at the archives highlights that there was another map that pilot Charles Sweeney and team, in order for them to hit their target within 500 feet, had a map showing Urakami Cathedral as the aiming point.
While the case for the peace statue as the exact hypocenter location is explained in the book Atomic Bomb Secrets, the fact is clear that the atomic bomb was detonated over the center of Christianity in Japan and some 3 miles from the Mitsubishi Naval Shipyard. Oppenheimer and others involved in the atomic bomb program realized that they were deceived regarding when and how the atomic bombs would be used, as both bombs primarily targeted civilians. After the bomb had dropped, Brotherhood of Death agents launched a propaganda campaign to suppress the Nagasaki truth. Part of their campaign focused the public's attention on the Los Alamos Target Committee as being responsible for making the Nagasaki targeting decisions. J. Robert Oppenheimer, known as the father of the atomic bomb, was the scientific leader of the Manhattan Project and the leader of the Los Alamos Target Committee.
He revealed he never recommended Nagasaki as a target. Instead, Oppenheimer, as well as many others who worked without knowledge of the Brotherhood of Death and their plan to destroy Christianity, was genuinely surprised when he learned that Nagasaki was where the Fat Man bomb had been detonated. Speaking to President Truman after Nagasaki was destroyed, Oppenheimer told him, quote, "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands," end quote. With Oppenheimer expressing shock about Nagasaki, Edwin Reischauer, a U.S. Army intelligence expert on Japan serving on Oppenheimer's team, was also falsely credited with having a deciding role in selecting Nagasaki. However, as the handcuffs of secrecy were eventually removed after the war, Reischauer revealed in his autobiography, as did General Leslie M. Groves in his book, that it was Secretary of War Henry Louis Stimson who made the decision to destroy Nagasaki. Stimson said to General Groves, "This is a question I am settling myself. The historical record is crystal clear. Neither Oppenheimer, Reischauer, or General Groves selected Nagasaki as a primary or secondary target." As both hoped and intended by the Brotherhood of Death, the false target selection attribution served to draw attention away from the fact that a high-level Brotherhood member selected Nagasaki. The following is the organization chart created by General Groves and published in his book, Now It Can Be Told. His version has the label Top Policy Group. The addition of Brotherhood of Death is included to show who the top policy group really served. Harry S. Truman was both a high-ranking Freemason and the 33rd President of the United States. Henry Wallace was also a high-ranking Freemason and the 33rd Vice President of the United States. Together with Wiseman Bernard Baruch and Bonesman Secretary of War Henry Stimson, the Brotherhood of Death had a lockhold on the atomic bomb chain of command. William Laurence would write after Nagasaki was destroyed, quote, "Destiny chose Nagasaki as the ultimate target," end quote. His choice of the word destiny is highly significant because in the Brotherhood of Death religion, destiny is used in literature to communicate among insiders their active role and involvement. The Brotherhood of Death worked to guarantee the Japanese leadership could not promptly surrender after the August 6th atomic bomb mission. On August 7th, Freemason General Curtis LeMay launched 152 B-29s, and on August 8th, another 375 B-29s to firebomb Japanese cities. The required gathering of top advisors for the Emperor eventually assembled on August 10th, and the cabinet drafted an imperial rescript ending the war. On August 15th, the Emperor announced Japan's defeat and surrender. Well-informed U.S. military leaders knew the atomic bombs were not necessary to end the war. Admiral William D. Leahy was one of the many Americans who was strong in his condemnation of the use of atomic weapons, stating, quote, "Bomb is the wrong word to use for this new weapon. It is not a bomb. It is not an explosive. It is a poisonous thing that kills people by its deadly radioactive reaction more than by the explosive force it develops." My own feeling is that in being the first to use it, we had adopted an ethical standard common to barbarians of the Dark Ages. I was not taught to make war in that fashion, and wars cannot be won by destroying women and children. End quote. As difficult as it is for many to hear, the atomic bombs were not needed to end the Second World War, or save the lives of American soldiers, including Norman Bissett, who was at Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, and died 13 days later from radiation sickness. Instead, they were deployed to uproot Japanese Christianity and help advance the Brotherhood of Death plans for a new world order.